Hello, my name is Crystal Petry, and you are watching season 3 of the Crystal Petry Podcast. My guest is probably very familiar to a lot of you. Lee Neves is back. Normally, Lee, you are here as a political commentator, but
I
not
am.
today.
Not today. Not today. Today I'm in my special guest starring role.
Yes. So I was cyber stalking your IG page, and I saw that you are the owner. Look at your dog. So cute. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
she loves making guest appearances. She
Guest
does.
appearance. You are the owner of a soccer team.
Yes, I am. And that is a much funner gig than my day job. It definitely does not pay as well as my day job. In fact, it's the reverse. But I love it. I love every minute of it.
Oh my goodness. So you are very multi-talented, multifaceted, all of the multis that we can throw at you. So tell me about your background. How did you get involved? And let me just throw this out here. You are the owner of a women's
Yes, of a women's
soccer team,
Yeah,
soccer club in California. So I need to stress the women's part.
Yes.
Give me your background. How did you get into soccer, professional women's soccer?
So I'm born and raised Portuguese. My parents came over from Portugal, from the old country,
Okay.
as I like to say it. So we're born with the soccer ball in our crib. I mean, the love for the game has always been there. I've always been a huge fan ever since. I still remember the 1990 World Cup when the U.S. first made it into the World Cup in the first time in 40 years. And just how fascinated I was by the U.S., playing Italy to, 1-0 score. Just the spectacle of it. And also the passion. I mean, especially when it comes to national teams and World Cups, the fact that an entire country gets behind you. Even to this day, when it's the World Cup and Portugal is playing, me and my dad will put on our Portugal jerseys, and our mood for the rest of the week is dependent on how Portugal does.
I love it.
Does Cristiano Ronaldo score a goal or not?
Yes.
So the love has always been there. And for the longest time, I was a booster, and a very active booster for my alma mater, the University of the Pacific. And the two sports that I gave heavily to three sports, but two of them were men's soccer and women's soccer that I was just like very involved as a donor and a booster in. And so the love has always been there. And what really happened to really like spark to do something was, and I may have shared this with you, obviously it's very well known, I had a liver transplant 3 years ago.
Wow, I did not know that. Okay.
And so for basically the summer of 2021, I had catastrophic liver failure. My liver just quit and said, I'm out of here. See you later. And I basically needed a transplant or I was going to die. I mean, those were the two choices: get a transplant or not be here anymore. And when you're in that, when you're facing mortality, basically, you start to think about a lot of things. And one of them was, what do I want to be remembered for? I mean, I'm a guy who had to plan his own funeral, for crying out loud. I mean, that's how bad it was. There were people who saw me in person, and they literally walked away saying, that's the last time we ever see Lee live again. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. And so, you start to think, is this what, and at the time I was just known just for politics. I was a political guy and I was good at it. But you start to think, is that all you want to be remembered for? On your tombstone, does it want to, does your epitaph want to be, he was really good at being a jerk every 2 years? That's, And so I started to think, how how can I give back to my community? How can I give back to a community that's given so much to me? And at this time, the USL, United Soccer Leagues, announced they were starting the W League, which is a women's pre-professional, basically minor league that they were starting. And idea popped into my head. This would be perfect for Stockton. My favorite candidates are always female candidates because they are great. I mean, they are very much, I am paying you to get me from point A to point B. That's what I'm paying you to do.
Okay.
And I want you to do it. You're not going to get in the way. You tell me what I need to do. And they're very focused, laser focused, and just really great at, here's everyone's role and everyone doing their role. A lot of times with male candidates, it's like, they'll talk to their bros who saw an episode of The West Wing. Their bros are political professionals, and they're giving them advice. They're like, well, my friend told me. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? I've been doing this for 20 years, and you're going to listen to a dude who, like sells real estate for a living.
Right.
No offense to realtors.
None.
But, and so I just thought this would be a perfect fit and a way to give back to Stockton. One of the things in soccer, especially moving up the soccer ladder in America, and one of the problems that America in a lot of respects in the soccer world is behind the rest of the world, is that we're in a very pay-to-play system.
Yes.
It's youth soccer is literally sometimes almost like taking out a second mortgage.
It is so expensively.
Very expensive. And so my goal was to have this pre-professional minor league team be comprised mostly of women from the Stockton, young ladies from the Stockton 209 area code, because there's a lot of talent here. But because of the way the youth soccer system is in America today, and, to get noticed to go to college and the pros, you have to get noticed in the youth soccer system. They don't have the opportunity because their parents aren't forking over the club fees. Their parents are worrying about, whether they can make rent or put food on the table, all those things. So I said this team is going to be absolutely 100% free. There was going to be no charge for tryouts. A lot of clubs, even in our division, charge for tryouts. There's going to be no charge for tryouts, no charge for uniforms, no charge for registration with the league.
What?
We cover all that.
That is unheard of. You know that, right? I
am 100%. That's my bank account doesn't like it. So that was kind of my driving force in doing this. Very much wanted a team that represented Stockton, that was made up of members from the Stockton and 209, larger 209 community, to represent this area on national. It's a national league, so to represent it on a national stage, but also be something that could really show the talent that is really not discovered, and have it be discovered. And that was my driving force, and that's why I still do. We're in year number 3.
Well, congratulations and happy anniversary on that. Let's talk about the name. I'm assuming you selected the name Stockton Cargo Soccer Club, correct?
So actually, the original name was, like I mentioned, Portuguese. Parents came over from Portugal. Sporting Club of Lisbon is like one of the biggest teams, and their colors are green and blue. One of the biggest teams in Portugal, if not the biggest team in Portugal, my dad's favorite team. So as an homage to them, I wanted to call it the Sporting Club of Stockton.
Okay.
Which is great. And then when it came time to announce, the league awarded me a team. They awarded me, we actually were the first expansion team in California. Okay. We were the first team in California they announced. And then a day before the announcement, I get a call from the league attorney, and they're like, yeah, great name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the actual Sporting Club of Lisbon, because our logo also kind of looked like a knockoff of theirs, kind of they might have a problem with copyright infringement. So you need to change your name.
What? Tell them you were paying homage.
I know. So there's an ending to the story here. So we get together. It was me, the league attorney, and copyright attorney that they recommended to me. And they're like, well, what's Stockton known for? And I'm like, well, it's, asparagus, but I'm not going to use asparagus in a name. It has a port. It has the second largest inland port on the West Coast. And they're like, oh, and someone threw out Stockton ports. I'm like, nope, that's a minor league team, baseball team. Can't use that. And they're like, what kind of port is it? Is it like Love Boat port? Or is it like a port? Not the Love Boat.
Yeah.
It's an actual port. And they're like, Stockton Cargo. And I'm just like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
So Stockton Cargo was born. Now, the funny thing is I was actually invited out to Sporting Club of Lisbon last year, and I went last September. They're like, hey, we see what you're doing out there. Love to talk. So I went there and I sat down with their head scout and their general manager, and I told them the story of our name, and they're like, are you kidding me? That's free publicity for us. We'd have had no problem with that whatsoever.
No, Lee. So close, yet so far. Close, yet so far. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges in launching a brand new women's soccer club?
Money to start off with. And I knew. I knew that was going to be, I don't want to say hurdle, but obviously the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. And I knew going into it that this is not a moneymaker. And I'm not doing this to be a moneymaker. Let's be very clear. I'm not doing this to make money.
That's clear.
I'm doing this to give back to my community and really do something great in the city of Stockton. Also give something for the city of Stockton to do. I mean, so often these days you hear there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. And I'm like, here's something to do. Our first season tickets were $5.
Okay.
The last two seasons we have, because we changed venues and because of the venue we changed to, it's now $15 a car. So literally shove everyone in your car is $15. I mean, and I literally had someone ask the other day, so if I bring a bus with 50 people, I'm like, it's $15.
Okay. Who came up with that idea?
That was my idea.
Okay. I don't know if that's a good or a bad idea, but let me hear the thought process behind it.
So the thought process is this. Stockton is not exactly Palo Alto or Menlo Park or Brentwood in LA.
Understandable.
And, we're a city that is very multicultural. I think in 2020, I think Forbes called us the most diverse city in the United States.
I love that.
And so I want to create something that would grab people's attention, but also be affordable. I mean, too often in pro sports, you go to a Major League Baseball game. I was just at a Major League Baseball game yesterday. I had to pay like $16 for a hot dog. NFL games are, and I love my San Francisco 49ers, but those prices are through the roof. Mm-hmm. So I want to create something that was very affordable for the people of Stockton. And that's how I came up with the pricing, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And you should. I love it. How do you go about staffing this? Because literally you are building this entire program from nothing.
Yeah,
so how do you build your team from staff and players? And
so this team wouldn't even get off the ground if I had not met Adrienne Sorensen. Adrienne Sorensen, head women's soccer coach at Delta College, very well known, very respected throughout the soccer community of the United States. And when I first had this bright idea, I pitched it to a friend of mine named Jordan Farrell, who is the GM technical director for the Oakland Roots of the USL Championship. And he's like, you need to talk to Adrian. So I connected with Adrian and I pitched her my idea and what I was thinking of. And she like hopped on board right away. She was the one with the connections. She's the staffing. She knows the players. This was just a pipe dream of mine. She's the woman who made it a reality. And without her, this would never have gotten off the ground. Absolutely not. So she's really the one that, brought in the first year head coaches. She was the head coach the second year last year. And we had a gentleman named Merrick Albert, who was an assistant coach last year, is now our head coach this year. And she's really the one that really puts the people in place, has the connection to either the players, the people who know the players. And as an owner, look, I'm not Jerry Jones. I'm not going to be in the draft room, saying who we're picking or anything like that.
Yes.
I know my place. So as an owner, I trust them to be able to get the players we need to be able to compete for playoffs and a championship. And so far this year, we're in first place after almost 3 games, which is a quarter of the season. After a quarter of the season, we're in first place. It's a 12-game season, and then playoffs. So we're in first place so far, and everything is working great. I'm very excited with the team this year and how it's going and how we're all bonding and really, really picking up some steam in the community.
What is the support? What does the support look like from the community from beginning to now?
It's great. I mean, honestly, our very first game, I thought I'd be excited if 10 people showed up. And it was sold out. We, at the time, played at Delta College. It was capacity 500 people, and place was packed, sold out.
Wow.
We have since moved our games to the University of the Pacific, which is a larger venue, grass field. And the support's been fantastic. I mean, we have, last year we probably would have averaged easily 1,000 people. If not we had to move one of our games because of a scheduling conflict with a graduation that was happening on campus. We had to move it to like Thursday at 3:00 in the afternoon. And we still had a good chunk of people show up, but not as if we had it 7:00 in the evening. But the support's been fantastic. We had a great crowd at our home opener. We're looking forward to a great crowd this Sunday. This Sunday we play the California Storm, which is a very venerated, well-known women's soccer team here on the West Coast. They've been around since 1995. They have had the likes of Brandy Chastain and Alex Morgan play for them in the past.
Wow.
They're almost like the New York Yankees of women's soccer, almost. And they're coming to town. We've played them the last 2 years, always been very competitive, hard-fought matches, and we're looking forward to another one. But we're also looking forward to a really great turnout for that game. So, we've definitely, year after year, building that support, really building a soccer culture in a town that didn't have one. I mean, there was zero soccer culture here. And really building that soccer culture is something will be this team's legacy. After I'm said and done, I'm gone, and this team hopefully is still around. That will be the legacy for this team, that we really started building the soccer culture in Stockton.
What would you say, Lee, are some of the biggest opportunities for growth in women's soccer?
Really, I think sponsorships, sponsorship support, fan support, but really on the business side, sponsorship support. I mean, here you have females that we were just on. We had 4 of our team members on ABC 10, which is the ABC affiliate for Sacramento, which is a top 20 media market. They were on their weekend sports wrap-up show, Toyota Sports Extra, and they were great. They were just phenomenal on, in front of the camera. And, here you have these young women that have these massive social media followings. And, I think sponsors are really overlooking the fact that you can leverage that, by, sponsorships either with the team or with the individual players. And people who are just they're natural leaders. I mean, these, if you have the ability to make it into a pre-professional minor league soccer team, which is, the USLW is the premier minor league soccer, women's soccer league in the United States. It's a very high level. It's a very, very high level of soccer. We probably would be professional teams from other countries, to be honest. And so you have to be accomplished and a leader to get to this level, to shift through all shifting the wheat from the shaft to get to this level. And so they're just people who are naturally great to be, and you see an NIL in college, the Livy Dunns of the world. And really that's, I think, a really great growth area from a business aspect. From a team aspect, I think just really building the capacity to have, really treat women's soccer like any other sport, like men's soccer, and really just to have the same fan following, the same fandom, there's and the same fervent following. There's no reason why we can't grow from 1,000 a game to, keep on working up the ladder. But right now we're doing really, really well. And we're getting more and more well known, not just in our town, but regionally as well. I remember I was at my niece's graduation last year in this little high school, like an hour south of here. And I was wearing a polo, like my white version of the polo. And he's like, "Oh man, I know you guys." And I was okay.
Oh, that's great.
So really getting that, just really growing the fan base, I think is at least for our team and we do that by winning. We do that by being out in the community. We've been out speaking to Rotary, where we'll be speaking to other clubs, getting that, getting the TV appearance time, being on podcasts like this one. Really just getting the name out there and really building the fan base and the following and it's a fan base and following that these young women deserve.
What do you think that has been done and has worked with men's soccer that can be used and can work in women's soccer?
I think it is that passionate, loyal following, and that's really what makes men's soccer so exciting. If you open up the TV and on a Saturday morning and see a crowd in an English Premier League game, just that really fervent following is something I think that needs to transition over to the women's side. And I think some people are like, well, it's women's sport, I can't get all excited. Yeah, you can get excited about it. You can get really passionate about it. It's totally okay. The one thing I think, at least in America, I think the one thing that women do better than the men is letting the personalities shine, letting them be who they are. Oftentimes on the men's side, at least here in America, and I'm talking about like Major League Soccer, the higher level, you see them all kind of conform, except for the one or two superstars. Like when we had Beckham play for LA Galaxy, or Messi now for Inter Miami. And too often on the men's side, at least here, they always focus on that one superstar from Europe they bring over instead of allowing the other individuals to have their personality shine through. You see the ladies do a much better job of that.
I will say that when Messi came over to Miami, that was something that the players really spoke about, that all of the attention, the money, the everything went to Messi, and it should, because we're talking about Messi here.
Yeah.
But they really felt left out and felt neglected.
And that's the thing, is it's great that attention all comes over here, but then you need to take advantage of that attention. And you need to say, okay, great, we're going to have Messi for 4 years, but what's going to happen after those 4 years? And so we need to cultivate the next generation of stars, homegrown or younger international stars, to take that mantle when he leaves. Like I said, that's something the men's side does not do well. The women's side actually does do very well.
Lee, you are the owner of a women's soccer club in Stockton, California, Stockton Cargo Soccer Club. What does a typical day look like for you?
No, man.
Besides being on the podcast with Crystal Petry.
Yeah. Well, my typical day started up with my director of operations telling me that so Capelli Sport is our uniform provider.
Okay.
And with her telling me, hey, they only have size extra small and pink socks for our goalkeepers. Because one of our we have 2 goalkeeper kits, orange and pink.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get a hold of them to see if they got any bigger sizes? So and it's while I was driving. I know I shouldn't be texting and driving, but I did. I was stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
And basically saying, hey, do you guys have any bigger sizes? And yeah, we do. I'm like, okay, I need X amount. So a lot of times it's dealing with, various internal, issue type deals. Yesterday we had our weekly team meeting at noon where we spent an hour, going over, okay, what we need for our next game? What volunteers do we need? What youth team is walking out with the players? What's going to be what specials are we going to have? So on, all that fun stuff. So my typical day is peppered throughout the day with requests from team staff or requests of me to team staff. Like, hey, do we have that graphic for this weekend's game up on Instagram yet? Or me reaching out to a very popular internet site here in Stockton saying, hey, we have a big game. Can you post up in your Instagram stories our different graphics throughout the week? And they're like, absolutely. So a lot of it is there's never a typical day. They're never, the only typical days ish are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays when I know there's going to be practice at 7:00. Other than that, there is zero typical day whatsoever. I usually will stop by at practice just to say hi, and then get lost. But for the most part, it's, there's always something new popping up every single day. Be it, yesterday I was dealing with the league with an issue of one of the teams in our division tampering with one of our players because they were one of their.
Were they trying to recruit?
They were trying to get her not to play against us.
What?
Yeah, she was.
Politics of it all, Lee.
Politics of it all. Yeah. So, I mean, look, this is not your, U5, everyone, runs around in a big ball of humanity trying to find the ball and having orange slices and Capri Suns after the game. This is not that.
Good times.
Not that at all. So it varies from day to day, and it makes it exciting. Stressful, but exciting.
What is something about owning a women's soccer team that might surprise like just your average common person?
Oh, I think the fact that when you say team owner, you think of a guy in a suit up in a suite with sunglasses, and some arm candy. And I mean, maybe for the NFL, but I'm on game day, I'm running around helping to set things up and making sure everything's are set up correctly. I'm very involved in the actual day-to-day operation.
What is, or how do you incorporate positive, empowering culture within your team? And I'm asking that question because I'm thinking it starts from the head. It starts from you.
And it starts by giving people the freedom to be themselves.
Okay.
From my head coach to my general manager to director of operations to the interns we have working for us, I give them the freedom, as long as they get the job done, obviously, I give them the freedom to be themselves and to do things their way. And really, it is about giving people the opportunity. My interns I've got 2 interns, and this isn't just, free labor, go get the coffee type of things. I have them working directly with sponsors for sponsorship activation. I have them working with nonprofits to set up, the nonprofit for that game. One intern I have working, we always have in the month of June was have a LGBTQ pride match. And I had her working directly with the San Joaquin County Pride Center as far as, okay, this is, the promotion of the match and what you guys are going to have there and so on and so forth. So I really want them to get actual hands-on experience that they can transfer to their future jobs in the sports marketplace. And it really we want our players to give them the freedom to be themselves, give them the ability to know that we can springboard from here to wherever we want to. We've had so far 4 players sign professional contracts.
Wow.
All the way from the Philippines to the Czech Republic. 2 of them here in the United States. So we want to give that culture where players know they can springboard to, the top leagues in the world, but also the ability to really be themselves and know that they're accepted and loved for that.
How does one start by owning a team? Do you pick up the phone and say?
When USL announced they were starting the W League,
yes,
and mind you, I was going through a massive illness at this time. I kept on just emailing them, and then I think they finally were like, okay, we're gonna reply to this guy so he'll leave us alone. I am fairly convinced. So I finally got on the phone with them and I pitched them my idea. Here's what I wanted to do. Here's why I want to do. And they loved the general consensus of the idea that this is a team that is really going to be for the young women of their community in a market that they wanted to get into. They wanted to get into California. And the fact that I really wanted to make it very community centric, very much you don't have to pay for, whatever, like a lot of clubs do. Especially youth clubs like we had just talked about. So, and the funny thing was whenever I would have a phone call with them, so when your liver fails, the ammonia in your body is processed through your liver. So when it fails, it goes straight to your brain. And from time to time, you wake up with delirium. I mean, I would wake up in the morning and think the bathroom was in the closet, maybe the middle of the night, and I'd be flickering the lights. I would think something and the words just were not coming out of my mouth because the ammonia built up in my brain. Every time that happened, my ex-wife, at the time wife, would have to put me in the car, drive me to Sanford Medical Center, to the ER. And after a few hours, the ammonia wears off and you're back to normal. And this always happens when you wake up because that's when the ammonia builds up.
Okay.
So every time we had a phone call, they're in the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast because the headquarters are in Tampa. Every time there was a phone call, I'd always say, oh yeah, we can do it 9:00 your time, 6:00 my time. They're like, you sure? I'm like, absolutely. I would stay up the entire night. I would not go to sleep.
Wow.
Because I did not want to wake up
and
have a conference call and be like, but they, they were like, we love the idea. We love the concept. Put the business plan together, put the financing together, prove that you have enough capital to manage this. And I did. And they were like, okay. They wanted to give me my team in January and announce me way back then. And that's when I was like, well, guys, so I kind of have a little secret to tell you.
Wow. So you hadn't told them yet?
I hadn't told them yet. And they're like, wow, okay. So they're like, and I told them I'm in Florida waiting for my transplant. They're like, okay, get your transplant. When you get it and it's successful, let us know. We'll give you the team. We'll announce you. And so I had my transplant on St. Patrick's Day of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And after a liver transplant, they put you in an induced coma for 2 days because your body's been through so much trauma, you need to heal. And then I still remember waking up and like 2 days to reconnoiter myself. And then finally, when they gave me my phone back, my first email was to the league basically saying, hey, I'm alive. Give me my team, please.
Yes. I love that. I love that story. How does your team, Stockton Cargo, motivate young girls to play soccer and stay in soccer? Because I'm sure, as you are aware, girls around puberty drop off with soccer, but sports in dramatic fashion.
So it really is. They're role models. I mean, really, if you can see her, you can be her. And I think that's, if there's the greatest thing this team gives back to the community, it's that. It's that so many little young girls in this community are seeing these women that they can now aspire to be when they get to be their age. There was one video clip last year that just will forever be stuck in my head. Haley Bostard is our captain. Been with us all 3 years. She's great. She's fantastic. And so we had this youth team with all these, like 8, 7, 8, 9-year-old girls walk the team out, and there's all, sitting on the sideline, and Haley went and gave one a high five, and she was like, oh my God, I'm never going to wash my hand again. And then this year we had this one mom put a photo up on Instagram, and we have our Hannah Diaz is our starting forward. She's played professionally for 9 years overseas. She played in France. She played for Houston in the NWSL. She played in Japan, and she joined us because she believes in our mission. She believes in what we're doing. And she has bangs, and she has tattoos all over her arms. So this one mom put a picture up of her daughter in her soccer uniform with bangs and the little temporary tattoos. And it said that she was going to the game as her favorite player.
Oh, Leah, does it get any better than that?
No, it doesn't. It does not.
Oh my goodness. What is your hope, your vision for your team in the next 5 to 10 years?
I want to see us really grow in this community. I want to see us be the premier team in the USLW. I want to see us be a team that everyone aspires to be. I want us to be seen as a bedrock of not only the Stockton community, but the Central Valley as a whole. That's what I really would like to see this team as. There are people who are like, oh, are you going to take your team to the, full professional ranks and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, hey, unless I win the Powerball next week, that's not happening. But I really want to see us just excel at where we're at. I think we're really great where we're at, and I want to see us excel and really be a bedrock team in the league and in our community.
Lee, as we get ready to wrap up, my final question for you: what would you like said on your tombstone now? Because at the beginning of the conversation, before you became the owner of Stockton Cargo women's professional soccer team, you said that it might be, a guy who was a jerk every 2 years because you are a political commentator, as you've done so perfectly on our platform as well. So fast forward to now, you own a women's soccer team. You are giving little girls hope. You are instilling hope in adult women and in an entire community, Lee. What would you like put on your tombstone now?
That I left this place a better place than when I found it.
Yes, absolutely. I think with that, that's the perfect ending. the perfect ending. Lee, as always, thank you so much for being on my platform. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. To my community, thank you so much for tuning in. You can get Lee's podcast and all my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.